So welcome back. Forgive me if I'm going to be stumbling over my words as I'm getting back into the swing of things of the whole new year. January the 3rd, 2024. I was about to say 2023, see? 2024. 7:44 actually, might as well say 7:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm TstreeT Controversy with Fight View 360 with my colleague Big J, and we're going to do a long, about 45 minutes or so. We're not going to bore you too much. Definitely not a half an hour. Too much to talk about. Might even go to an hour. But just letting you guys know we got a lot to talk about. I'm talking about this list is long. So we're going to make sure we make it as entertaining as possible for you, not to bore you to death, and only talk about, not give too much time to the names that we know you're probably going to click off the video for. But we got to give a mention because this is a special edition of an Australian boxing podcast where we're going to be doing we're going to be talking about the current news and what's coming up as we reach the boxer, as we're going down the everything that happened in the year. So we're going to start at the heavyweights and then all the way down to the lower divisions, even women. So we're going to jump right into. What I'm saying was we're going to make sure guys like Tszyu, what's going on with Tszyu, his next fight likely on Amazon Prime. George Kambosos Lomachenko's will be happening sometime in April or so. Me and Big J, we're working right now to get to that fight. What's going on with the Moloneys, Opetaia, and what path he's going to take to get a title back. We covered him last week, by the way. Actually, this is my first video in 10 days, so forgive me. And yeah, talk about the division. So let's start with this. For some reason, I've been wanting to talk about this dude, Demsey McKean. I do not know why, but dude just don't have the goods. And I'm looking right now, he is no longer ranked anywhere in any sanctioning body. Big J, do we know if Eddie Hearn let him go yet?
I don't know, but I have heard that he has returned to Australia.
He's probably let go.
Yeah, I think that he has been let go. He's still with Ace Boxing, Angelo DiCarlo, but I don't think after the Philip Herbowich loss, and that was probably one of the worst fights of the year. I mean, both of them looked like shit. So I don't think that we're going to be hearing anything from Demsey McKean anytime soon, unless he fights Justis Huni or Lucas Browne, which I don't think that fight's going to happen anymore. That was supposed to happen almost 4 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Demsey McKean was a fighter that never really was completely unproven at that point, and he stepped up to Philip Herbowich and got completely out. Well, he didn't get out. He got knocked. He got stopped in the end, didn't he, in the last round?
Yes, he did. In round number 12. This was in August of 2023.
And he looked terrible during the whole fight. I mean, Philip Herbowich, he looked like shit as well.
He did.
So it was a terrible fight. Both of them looked like crap. And basically it just buried Demsey McKean. It completely exposed him that he's just not at that level. He's a good domestic level fighter, but internationally he's got nothing going on.
Well, since Eddie Hearn and Ace Boxing, since Matchroom, DAZN, and Ace Boxing have that relationship, maybe we will see Demsey McKean again, because think about it. They can do him versus Justis Huni, who we're going to talk about next. That does make sense, though, right?
It does. Credibility-wise, it'll probably be a good fight for Justis, because, I mean, speaking of Justis Huni, he's not bloody knocking down any barriers. And if he knocks out McKean before Hrgovic did, because Hrgovic is the IBF #1 contender for the heavyweight title. Yeah, exactly. So Justis Huni, he's not breaking through. He's not. I can't think of the expression, but he's not setting the world on fire either, because his last performance, he couldn't even knock out a blown-up cruiserweight.
Yeah, we have Huni on the screen. He's 8-0 with 4 KOs, 24-year-old, 6'4", Australian. He reminds you for those who don't know, he reminds me of a younger Joseph Parker, except kind of like a little bit faster, moves around a little more, similar to a heavyweight Opetaia in a sense. But go ahead, Big J, I'm listening.
Yeah, he pretty much is. I mean, he's got phenomenal footwork, great work ethic, moves like a lightweight, but also has a power of one too. That's the problem. He's got no power. And when he gets up to the higher levels, he's going to need that power to keep those fighters off him. Otherwise, he's going to get knocked out and knocked out bad.
Yeah, because and that's one thing we've noticed is in certain cases, if you don't have enough pop to keep a fighter off of you, you know, especially a pressure fighter or a fighter's going to be like, yeah, I know you can't hurt me, then you're going down.
Especially in the heavyweight division. You
know, and I could possibly see Usyk stopping him because, you know, if he don't have the power to keep Usyk off of him and go to the body like Joshua did, then, you know, or at least have the power to be able to get. I think Usyk can probably stop him just off of not a one punch, but just basically wear him down, TKOing.
Unless, because you got to remember, Justis Huni's IQ is pretty smart. If he goes after the body, because Usyk's piss weak at the body, if he goes after the body, just stays on the body, there's a chance he could get him.
You know how like some fighters, if you're playing a video game, it'll be like chin 8. Heart 9, you know, endurance 10, but then when it comes to Usyk, it'd be like body 4, like, you know, like
exactly
throughout his career, like, you know, who was he dropped by in the amateurs by? I think it was Artur Beterbiev to a body shot. You know, but go ahead.
I mean,
I'm listening.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Dubois, you know, dropped him in the last fight, and arguably Daniel Dubois won that fight because that wasn't a low blow. That was bullshit. But anyway, we're not gonna get into that. We'll be here all bloody night. But yeah, Justis Huni. I mean, there's options there. He can fight Lucas Browne, which I really don't think there's any point to that now. Demsey McKean, or they'll throw him. If Eddie wants to come back in Australia, and I've heard that Eddie's looking at doing a show around March or April. If that's because I keep on hearing there's going to be some big show in Adelaide around April.
Where's Adelaide for the American listeners? Where would you?
South Australia. That's South Australia's capital city. That is basically exactly where it is. It's central South Australia.
Okay, gotcha.
So South Australia is the central southern state. That's the capital city.
Well, and you wanted to say something about Mark Demore, who just basically got a free check from the Saudi Arabians in what was the worst performance of any fighter on the Saudi Arabia card that I sat here for and watched for hours.
Yeah, well, I have never heard of this guy, so he's from Perth, but I don't think he actually lives in Australia. I think he lives in the States.
Okay.
That's why I've never heard of him. So, terrible performance. I mean, you know, Philip Herbowich, you know, takes care of 2 Aussies in 1 crack, so, you know, that's nothing new. But just terrible. I never heard of this guy, but yeah, he put in a pretty piss poor performance.
Looked like he didn't even want to fight.
Clean him up? Didn't David Haye clean him up like 10 years ago?
About 7, give or take. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I covered that fight. That's on the channel. I can't believe I covered Mark Demore twice on this channel. Yeah,
well, I've never heard of the guy, so until you told me, I said, "Who the fuck's this bloke?"
Yeah.
Anyway,
Joseph Goodall, you think he's gonna be able to swing back after losing to Efe Ajagba? Really, I watched that fight and I covered this fight. Oh yeah, I covered that fight.
Yeah, I remember that fight.
Yeah, he didn't look good, didn't he? I don't think he did.
No, he looked terrible.
No, meaning like terrible, like he really wasn't trying to try, like he was scared. I'm trying to remember how that fight went.
No. He was just outworked by a far superior boxer.
Gotcha. Efe Ajagba. Yeah. That was on what card was this?
Oh shit, I can't remember.
No, I got it pulled up. No, it was the main event of that card.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was too.
Yeah, and but he cleaned him up is the Bella fighter.
He cleaned him up in like 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where the Aussie domestic guy, you know, steps up to the scene and just gets crushed, and that happens to Australian boxers all the time.
Yeah. So, okay, so take your time out, like the video, subscribe. You can follow me at TstreeT Controversy and Big J at Old Mate Big J. So we just got through the heavyweight division right there. And now we are going to move on to, let's see here. The cruiserweight division, Jai Opetaia, and how he got screwed by the IBF, in my opinion, to have to drop his belt before he stepped into the ring with Ellis Zoro on the undercard of Anthony Joshua Otto Wallin, Deontay Wilder, Joseph Parker. The Saudi Arabia card that happened on December the 23rd. So, let me remember. We were talking about this extensively, where we think that Bridges had something to do with it. Was that ever confirmed? I think I heard somewhere. Was it confirmed?
I'm not 100% sure, but there's got to be something to do with it because Bridges is now fighting. Isn't he fighting old mate? Is it the Mexican bloke?
He's in talks to fight Gilberto Ramirez, former 168-pound champion. And Bridges said they're in negotiations to fight in February. So it's January right now. We haven't heard anything, but while I'm on the computer, go ahead, Big J. I'm going to type and see if anything new came up.
I don't believe so, but that honestly is a controversy of the year because the IBF, as we've said before, over the last 18 months, 2 years, they've been doing some weird shit.
Yeah,
they really have. I mean, they stripped Bud Crawford for virtually no reason. So they stripped Jai, which was absolute bullshit. What's the other bloody stupid thing that they did?
Can't remember right now, but they've been pretty controversial this year.
They fucked around Bakram Metazalia, but they've been fucking him around for 4 years. So, I suppose they finally took the belt off Charlo, which they should have done 2 bloody years ago. But anyway, but you're back on the Jai.
Here's the last news that I remember that came from Ben Damon. The IBF will order Bridges versus Gilberto Ramirez for the now vacant cruiserweight belt. So it hasn't been ordered yet. I haven't seen anything because I'm looking. Nothing's been officially ordered yet. So that can really mean that they really are in negotiations. I believe that they are because why would Bridges post that?
Exactly.
Now, my prediction on that fight, Gilberto Ramirez is very good and he is huge. 6'3", but at the end of the day, this is a cruiserweight. A former junior middleweight. Super middleweight, moving up to he lost to Bivol at 175. Now moving up to cruiserweight to fight a cruiserweight who's on the bigger end of cruiserweights because he fought at heavyweight in Miras Bridges. So in Miras Bridges, me personally, I think Jai Opetaia can still beat him, but it would be a close fight. As we saw, Bridges can fight. It wasn't until he was down on the cards and, his team was telling him, like, hey, you got to do something, that he then went on to break Opetaia's jaw in 2 places. So, and I think we touched on it before, but I forgot what your feelings on it. I didn't think Bridges took him seriously. I think Jai can beat him and probably would have beat him in a close fight. It was a close fight at the end. But I just think that Bridges didn't really take him that serious. I think he was that good.
Yeah, I think a more focused Bridges would be a more competitive fight. But Jai is not the same fighter he was when he took on Bridges. He's even better now. So,
but will he be going into that ring with that in the back of his mind? Be careful, this guy broke my jaw and tore up my face and had me drinking out of a straw for a year plus, all surgeries and everything. That can be in the back of a fighter's mind.
True. But I don't think if they came to a rematch, I think it would be a close fight. But Jai would get him again.
I think he would play keep away. I think he would move his ass off because you don't want to get hit by him.
Yeah, exactly. But I still think he'd outwork him anyway. Mm-hmm. And you can see since his return, he's far more aggressive now. The 2 guys he fought weren't that flash, but he knocked the fuck out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, but the one thing he's got to do is that if he gets Bridges into trouble, he can't let him off the hook because he let Thompson off the hook in their fight. He should have knocked him out in 2. He knocked him out in 4, but he could have knocked him out in the second round.
Yeah.
And he did the same thing with Zorro. He can't let someone like Bridges off the hook because he won't get a second chance.
Yeah, playing with his food, finish the plate.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck playing with your food, just knock him the fuck out. But Jai, in my opinion, and pretty much everyone else's opinion, is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in Australia. So, have you got that box rec thing you showed me before with the Australian? How the fuck is Sam Goodman bloody number 1? But
we talked about it. For those who don't know how box rec works, they use like this weird calculation point system that involves like your activity, the level of fighters, the opponent you have fought. It's a weird system that they use. So the box rec pound for pound is not really respected as like an official pound for pound that people look at.
well, to be fair, I think Sam Goodman's fought 4 times this year against.
There you go, and that's probably why he's number 1 off of that point system.
Yeah, but we'll get there. We'll get to him later. But in my opinion, Jai is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in Australia, and he will become undefeated, undisputed cruiserweight champion. There's no one in the division. Bridges is really his only threat. Everyone else, he just would smack the shit out of.
Okay,
absolutely smack the shit out.
So Rohan Murdock, he is on his way to a world title shot, 27-2, 19 KOs. I covered him before against who? No, I didn't. He sounds familiar. I didn't cover him.
Yeah, he fought some bloke called, was it Zach Parker?
Zach Parker, I believe that's the fight, yeah.
Yeah, we covered that fight because he was actually winning that fight, and then Zach Parker got him in the later rounds.
Yeah, that was in 2020.
He was
that was the country was about to shut down in 3 weeks. The whole world, actually.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was.
I remember that
the whole
fight.
world shut down 2 weeks after that. So what's going on with him? Where's he at? He's fighting Chris Mbali. Okay, that's a good fight for him.
Yep, he's on
Chris
the
Mbali. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's on the Arthur Bebo bloody Calvin Smith card, same card that Jason Maloney's on.
Okay.
Next week.
And Rohan Murdock is ranked where? Let me see. He is the 168.
Somewhere in the WBO, I think.
He is ranked. Hold on. I know Mbali is ranked number 5 by the WBO. Okay, so in Rohan Murdock, he is not ranked by the WBO from what I've seen. He is ranked number 9 by the IBF. He is not ranked by the shitty WBA. Good for him. And he is not ranked by the WBC. So likely if he's fighting Mbali, he probably will appear in the WBO rankings if he beats him. And Mbali is also number 3 in the IBF rankings. So pretty much he's on his way back to a title shot. And let's be honest, he's never, ever going to see Saul Canelo Alvarez. He's never going to see David Benavidez. You know, so, good luck to him. We don't want. You want to close out any thoughts on him before we move on?
No. We'll see how he goes. Hopefully, is the WBO global title belt on the line for that fight?
No, actually, that was a good question. It's a WBC Intercontinental, so he's trying to get a WBC ranking, both of them.
Fair enough. I knew there was some sort of belt on the line.
Yeah, it's a WBC Intercontinental. One of them getting to the rankings belts, getting to the top 15 belts. Next one on the list is I actually want to know what's going on with him. Issac Hardman, 15-2 now with 13 KOs, losing to Rohan Murdock. We didn't cover that fight, did we?
No, we didn't. It was a 10. I think it was a 10-round decision and went Murdoch's way.
Okay.
And yeah, I think he chucked a bit of a hissy fit about it or something. I remember something going on about it. Was it a draw?
No, it was a split decision loss.
Split decision loss. Yep. Okay. Yep.
So here was the cards. Let's see here. It was 92-97 for Murdoch, 96-93 for Hardman, and 92-97 again for Murdoch. So is there anything going on with him? I'm guessing he's just trying to move his way back up because he's taken 2 losses in the last couple of years. Of course, the first was that knockout by Mick Zerafa, who just so happens to be up on our list. So what's going on with that? I know, but I'm trying to make sure you've been following a little bit more than me. So the WBA had a convention about a month and a half ago. Something happened.
Yeah, apparently that Zerafa's finally going to fight Lara sometime this year. Mm-hmm. The WBA has ordered it because apparently this Garcia fight bullshit's finally over, and that's not going to happen. So the WBA has turned, okay, well, Lara's now going to fight Zerafa. But announcement, I'll believe it when both fellas are standing in the ring with the gear on and the bell goes ding. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about that.
By the way, in regards to Mick Zerafa is 31-4 with 19 KOs. His last fight was against Danilo Creedy
which was a shitty performance, even in his words. It was bloody terrible.
In a November 2022. Also, at that WBA convention where he was ordered to finally get his Lara fight, his manager got into some shit with the manager of David Benavidez and manager of many fighters, like formerly Manny Pacquiao, Samson Lukovich, where his manager, Zerafa, spit in the guy's face. And Bernard Hopkins was there. It was a whole mess. But they didn't involve Mick Zerafa in any way. He wasn't involved, but it was a whole mess. All right, moving on. Next on the list. Oh, yeah, finally. Something to talk about. Take your time out. Like the video. Subscribe. Please hit the like button. It means a lot to us. And we are going to be pumping out an Aussie Boxing podcast where we encompass everything once a month. But if there's big things going on, then we have to pop out 2 a month. But you kind of figure out how it goes. And then for big fights, we do preview, prediction, build-up, shoulder content. We'll cover weigh-ins, post-fight press conferences, and basically, if a guy like Tim Tszyu's fighting, we're giving him full coverage, if that makes sense. So now, let's talk about what's going on with Tim Tszyu. Nothing's really developed new, but I'm gonna let you take that away while I pull up this stuff in the background.
Okay, well, so we've talked about this on the channel before. The plan is that for No Limit, for Tim Tszyu to fight in Vegas on Friday the 1st, is it? As a precursor to the NRL season kickoff, which is happening on the 2nd. I can't remember what stadium it's happening at, but the stadium in Vegas. A couple of the boys have already been over the NRL, which is the National Rugby League. Have already been over to some NFL games to try to promote the Vegas weekend. Mm-hmm. As people are aware or might not be aware, George Rose, who is pretty much the face of No Limit, the main promoter, used to be an NRL player, played for the Seagulls, played for the Storm, played for the St. George Illawarra Dragons, so he played for 3 or 4 teams. So, yeah, he's trying to use his NRL past to build his promotional future, if that makes sense. So whether or not it actually happens on that weekend, I don't think it will, because I don't think PBC gives a flying fuck about the NRL if they even know what it is. And they don't do Friday night fights. I mean, they haven't done Friday night fights in 20 years.
No, they don't. That's not a Friday night fight for a Tim Tszyu. That's not happening. Unless they're going to the year try to do something new. Staying away. It's many reasons why they stay away from Friday night fights. For one, the NBA is in the playoff hunt. That's when the players are playing hard. March Madness, college basketball is also deep in the swing. So, for broadcasting reasons, they stay away. Boxing notoriously for big events stays away from Friday nights because you're competing with such bigger sports, if that makes sense, in the States.
Well, they'll probably do it the week before.
That would make sense.
So, come for the fight, stay for the footy. But that's gonna. I mean, a week in Vegas would not be cheap.
Yeah, word. Yeah, for real. You're traveling over there for yes. So it's looking like we don't know yet, but it seems like it may be Erickson Lubin. That's the only logical, unless Jamel Charlo, who's gotten into some legal trouble, recently. If it's going to be him, but my bet is on Erickson Lubin. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely Erickson Lubin. There's no other names being mentioned.
Ramos.
Oh, Jesus Ramos. Yeah, that's right. Isn't that
wild card? He's big. He's a big time. He's moving up. He's a big name. I mean, not big name, but he's the next guy to look out for in the division.
Isn't that the bloke that Lubin beat, but that was controversial?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot they fucking Lubin beat him. Oh yeah, but yeah, you're right. But yes, it was controversial because Lubin. A lot of people think Lubin did not win.
Yeah, that's right. Because I think you did a video on that. And that was bullshit. Lubin didn't win that fucking fight. Jesus Ramos.
Yeah, but no, I think this was a fight I missed. I covered the card, but then I missed this fight for some reason. I forgot why.
Yeah, I know.
But no, Ramos is good. No. That could still be a fight for Tim Tszyu that I can see. Is he going to be Lubin? Which makes the most sense because Lubin beat Ramos. And if he fights Ramos, then he's going to be fighting Lubin's leftovers, even though a lot of people think that Ramos won.
Yeah, and I mean, Tim will fight anyone, but he's not the sort of guy that would fight someone who lost to another guy.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think it's definitely Lubin would be the front runner unless someone else comes out of nowhere.
Josh Kelly, he's number one by the WBO, but
his name's never even been mentioned.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone mention anything about him.
No, the only way he would get it is if the WBO orders it. Now, here's some new news. 18 hours ago, BoxRec has reported, I'll pull this article up on the screen. BoxRec has reported that Murtazalia versus Jack Kuke vacant title fight purse bid hearing is next week on the 11th.
Well, thank God.
So, yeah,
thank
we
God
already knew that was coming.
bloody done.
And, yeah, this guy, Murtazalia, has been the mandatory since November of 2019. Yeah, and this is the IBF. That's what we missed that we didn't talk about, like how they let this happen, the IBF.
Well, because he accepted 3 step-side agreements. Yeah. So, yeah, but how did the IBF allow that? I'm not getting into that. Fuck that. We're talking about Australia.
But back to Tim Tszyu. My personal opinion is he is, after we saw how Jermell Charlo looked against, listen, I'm going to pick him. I'm not going to say he's pound for pound number one for the 154 pounders, but I'm saying he's the number one right now, meaning I would pick him to beat Jermell Charlo and everybody else on this list.
I don't think there's anyone at 154 that's a serious threat. The only serious threat he's going to get if Crawford steps up.
Okay.
That's the only serious threat. I mean, maybe even if Spence steps up to 154, the only threat he's got are guys that are going to move up at 147, because I don't think there's anyone in the division that could beat him, including Charlo.
Yeah, I don't see it anymore. So, that's long faded. And also, the next generation 154 pounders is being led by Xander Zayas. And also, Virgil Ortiz is now at 154 pounds. He is good. Golden Boy fighter, but would we see him against Tim Tszyu? I don't know. And before we move on, is there any talk of Tim Tszyu moving to 160?
Not at the moment. It probably will happen eventually. But you
think he's going to go after Undisputed and then vacate right after?
Yeah, I think that would probably happen, because the other factor that everyone needs to consider is that his brother's moving up, and sooner or later, I mean, they're never going to fight each other, but they're going to be exactly like the Charlo boys. One moves up to one division, the other one moves up to the next one. So that's. And Nikita, I don't think Nikita will be on Tim's next card, because I believe he's already got an opponent lined up.
Well, they're selling you guys Nikita Tszyu pay-per-view, so why would he go back on the undercard? They sell you guys anything over there. Nikita Tszyu, by the way, pulling him up on the screen, he is 8-0 with 7 KOs, 25 years old. From what I've seen from him so far, not personal, mate, Nikita, but he's not as good as his brother. Maybe it's because he's on a faster track progression with more exposure because of his brother, because this guy's headlining pay-per-view cards right now. You know, but I just don't see it in him. I see the power, I can see the explosiveness, but as he steps up in competition, I'm not sure he can hang like his brother.
Well, he has to prove that in the ring. I mean, remember me, for the first 2 years of bloody we covering Tim Tszyu, I remember.
They remember. They'll never let you live that down.
I criticized the fuck out of him at every turn.
They will never let you live that down. Especially if you become undisputed, woo, they're going to let you have it. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's a bit different when he was fighting a bunch of blown-up welterweights to who he's fighting now. So, completely different. So Nikita's got to prove his worth in the ring. It's as simple as that. I mean, he's not even 10 fights in. So, he's like every other fighter. He's got to prove his worth in the ring. It's as simple as that. So, is Nikita going to be as good as Tim? He has to prove that in the ring. Simple as that.
All right. So what we're going to do is, on our end, we're going to take a little short break. But for you, it's going to be a millisecond, a jump cut. Remember, you can follow Big J at Old Mate Big J. That's OldMateJ at Twitter, X, on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and please drop a like. Make sure you comment any fighters you want us to talk about. Also, in the future, or mention up-and-coming guys, put them down below in the comments, and we will make sure we keep a lookout. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.
And a red-hot crack in this.
Oh, they're right in once again.
Rohan Lamont has gone.
And, yeah, he's not in a good way. Rohan Lamont is not in a good way. It was that right hand straight down the middle that he was getting caught with.
Rewind that back. we decided to change up the pace here a little bit for you guys. We are going to talk about the year in rewards for Australian boxing content, and this is what Big J is saying is the knockout of the year. Let's see here, see if we can go back a little further. That was, who was that, Rohan Lamont? No, that was Rohan Lamont that got knocked out, not Shaw, right?
Yeah, no, it was Gene Shaw versus Rohan Lamont. I'm pretty sure Shaw the one that does the knockout. Lamont is the guy that gets flattened. He gets friggin' almost gets his head taken off. It was bad.
Yeah. And you were saying, and what card was this?
This was the Ace Boxing card that they did. It was the Rising Stars one they did in... I can't remember when it was. I think it was in August. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
I'm pretty...
He did this little convulsion while he was down there. That was scary.
Yeah, it was a scary friggin' knockout. Actually, I think that's the one where Jasmine Parr actually had her fight against Nicola Costello, and that was Female Fight of the Year. So I think that's the same card if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And let me just bring it up on BoxRec. Let me just have a look at Jasmine Parr here. For those who don't know, that's John Wayne Parr's girl. So she's got fighting in her blood, that's for sure. Let me just have a look. Let me see. Nicola... Bria Harrison.
So in the meantime, you're giving upset of the year.
No, that was in July. That was in July, that one.
Okay. So you're giving upset of the year to Ben Horn versus Joel Taylor. And why's that?
Yeah, well, I saw something on Twitter the other day that internationally speaking, that was the third biggest upset of boxing for the year.
Oh, okay.
Internationally, because Ben Horn was like 1,000 to 1 to win that fight, and he knocked him down. I'm pretty sure it was it a knockdown or was it a unanimous decision?
But it was
Hang on.
Ben Horn, the brother of Jeff Horn.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, it was. That was on the because I saw that fight. It was Django Opelu, Jason Parker card.
Okay. And
I was there.
And performance of the year, Tim Tszyu versus Tony Harrison. To me too, just you know, just clinical breakdown. And that was the biggest fight of all for the year, right? I'm talking about some as far as marketability.
It was the event of the year, absolutely, because pretty much every man, his dog was there. Alicia Bumgarner was there. Sean Porter was there. A lot of people came from international to see that fight. A lot of people would argue, talking to some mates earlier in the day, that they said that Tim versus Brian Mendoza was probably his performance of the year. I disagree because I think Harrison was a much bigger name and a more credible opponent than Mendoza. Even though Mendoza knocked out Sebastian Vendora, I think Mendoza will be one of those guys who's the bridesmaid, never the bride. He might get a title shot, but I don't see him ever getting one.
And you're giving, let's see, controversy of the year to Liam Wilson and Navarrete.
That's right, yeah, because a lot of people have to remember is that even though it was a long count, people have to remember that Liam hit Navarrete when Navarrete's glove was on the ground. That's an illegal punch.
Yeah.
So people, even though people have pretty much forgotten about it, because you got to remember, boxing fans have very short memories. So, but people were bitching at the time, oh, it was a long count, oh, this, oh, that, he spat the mouthpiece out. Okay, fair enough, but Navarrete was hit when his glove was on the ground. Okay. That's an illegal blow. So people can sit there and whinge and bitch and complain all they want. Liam hit him with an illegal blow and then let him off the hook. He didn't finish off the job. So the whole fight was a bloody controversy the whole way, because why the ref allowed him to spit out the mic, the bloody mic, the friggin' mouthguard about 3 times. Yeah. So it was all Billy bullshit. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Liam Wilson let him off the hook because he should have just jumped on him once. As soon as he got up from the count, he should have said, nah, fuck him, I'll just kick the shit out of him. Yeah? Should have just caved his ribs in. Yeah. That's what he should have done. Navarrete's got a very weak weak, thin torso, I would have smacked his fucking ribs in. So.
Alex Winwood, 4-0 with 2 KOs. He is one of the next big up and coming. He's a contender. He's no longer a prospect. He's moving fast. He's a contender. At the minimum weight, 108 pounds. Is that that limit's max? He fought a Chris Benaza in his last fight. But just briefly giving him a mention for people who are into the minimum weight. And by the way, over here in the States, or just overall globally in the world, it's very hard. Like, he's in a tough division to market because it's very hard to get these fights broadcast. So, it's going to be an uphill battle for him. But we just thought that we would give him a mention. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, but I honestly believe that he will break Jeff Fenech's record of winning a world title inside of 7 fights, because if his next fight will probably be against the champion, who is a Japanese fighter. I can't remember his name. Pretty good chance that now Top Ranks pretty much getting after the market now that they pretty much got Inoue firmly in their grasp.
Yeah.
That fight will most likely be in Japan on probably Inoue's next fight, depending on what he's going to do, whether he's moving up or staying at 122. He's a Tony Tolsh fighter who manages the Moloney twins, who's heavily associated with Top Rank. So you can just see all the pieces falling together. I see sometime this year Alex Winwood fighting the Japanese guy on an undercard to Inoue's next fight for the minimum weight WBC world title.
Okay.
And I see him winning. That's what I see.
Since we're talking about the Maloneys, let's talk about what's going on next with Jason Moloney, 26-2 with 19 KOs. He will be defending his WBO bantamweight title. No disrespect to Andrew, but Jason is the more aggressive. I don't want to say the better fighter, but let me just leave that alone. 32 years old. He's taking on a Saul Sanchez. That's going to be on January 13th on the undercard of Berchabiev, defending his titles against Conor Smith. We're going to be here. I know I am. I'm going to be here covering this card. And what's supposed to be the plan for him? Let me see here. Well, who's the other champions in this division as I'm catching up and getting out of pulling myself back together after the new year. All right, so Jason has the WBO. Manny Rodriguez has retired. That IBF is vacant. Tikoma Inoue, the brother of Naoya Inoue, he's at 118 pounds with the WBA title. And Alexandro Barrios has the WBC. So unfortunately for you guys, I have to do some research because I don't. I can see a unification between the WBO and the WBA just because of how close Top Rank has a relationship with the Japanese boxing community. Alexandro Barrios. Let me see. Who has he fought? I've heard this name. I know. So let me see. He's the WBC champion. He looks familiar. Oh yeah, I covered this fight. He beat Nonito Donaire. I knew this guy. An old Nonito Donaire, by the way, who fought back in July. So yeah, and Nonito Donaire really looked old, like he shouldn't be in there. And he has not retired and saying he's going to retire. By the way, shout out to his wife and manager, Rachel Donaire. She's a big supporter of the channel. Thanks for watching. So yeah, let me see who this Saul Sanchez guy is.
I think he's ranked 10th by the WBA, but I think
I've never seen him, never heard of him, but I've probably seen him fight on cards in passing, but never paid attention to any of his fights. But either way, I'm going to give Jason the edge. So since we're running low on time, Andrew 26-3 with 16 KOs, also 32. Wink, wink. Fought Judy Flores, and he got a 10-round decision in a bounce-back fight to get him a WBO global ranking at 115 pounds.
That's correct, yeah. After Jason takes care of this Sanchez bloke, I believe that they'll be on the undercard to George Loma when that happens. Looks like it's going to be in April this year. So that's...
And we're going to close out the video talking about that, George and Loma.
Yep. So let's cover what are we?
Let's talk about the women.
Girls now.
Yeah, let's talk about the women.
We'll quickly give Stevie Spark and Paro a mention. Paro Yep, good performance against Montana Love. Stevie Spark, yep, same good performance. Stevie Spark got screwed, for those who don't remember, in Mexico. That was bullshit. He won that fight. I think it was, what was it, a split decision to the Mexican bloke?
The cards were
94, 96.
93,
Yep.
96, and 95, 94.
Yeah. So, yeah, bloody screw job. I think Stevie won that fight. He did enough to win it. But in Mexico, against the Mexican, that
However,
was not
don't be
gonna-
surprised if we see that rematch, because it's not like this is a big name Mexican fighter. We could see that in rematch sometime
Nah.
soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like
we
Stevie
better
Spark. He
quickly
going there to
mention.
fight. What you say?
We better quickly mention Sam Goodman now. Is Inoue moving up or not? Because if he's not, Inoue,
No, he's
he
moving
will
up.
fucking knock. Oh, thank God, because Goodman would get killed against Inoue.
Yeah. Anyways, moving up. He's on his way. The monster's on his way. So Liam Paro in a very, depending on how you view Montana Love, he did what he had to do and got Montana Love out of there in spectacular fashion to give his name some spark in the heavily popular and top-heavy 140-pound division. So I'm really interested where he's going to go. And we did let me see, who I believe he's going to fight next. Let me see right now. Devin Haney also and Ryan Garcia are in talks to fight in Saudi Arabia. Teofimo Lopez is in talks to fight Sandor Martin. Sabril Matias, we don't know what's going on with him. He's healing from a broken hand. And him and Teofimo are supposed to be fighting after that. Ruler Romero is going to be ordered to fight O'Hara Davies, and we'll have to fight him next. O'Hara Davies is going to be fighting on the undercard against the Virgil Ortiz undercard against Ismael Barroso. And then so realistically for Liam Paro, I would pick I won't be surprised if I see him versus Jack Catterall. They're both in the same stable. Or Richardson Hitchens. We talked about that. It's going to be some interesting
Yeah, that's
fights
right.
there
That
for
was the
him.
name that we mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
going
with
to be.
that WBO belt, he'd be top 5 in the WBO, the global belt. So
Yeah, so he'll be that will put only Sandor Martin, Richardson Hitchens and Jack Catterall right there above him. Right there above him.
yeah, sweet.
So it
So
makes
that's where
total
he's going
sense.
to go.
Now, Ebanie Bridges.
The girls. We got to mention the women.
Yeah, Ebanie Bridges took a defeat.
Thank God.
Yeah, it was coming, so hopefully she goes back to, as fighters say, goes back to the drawing board, and I'm pulling up the box rec list of Australian women's. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Well, I mean, it was a pretty disappointing year for the women overall because Ebony lost, Shanika lost, Susie and Shannon didn't fight the whole year. Taylor Robertson hasn't got much going on. I mean, by default, the only one that really achieved anything this year was Skye Nicolson.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, sorry, not this year. She's in talks. I think that's got to be done by Jan 12 or something.
Yes.
She's in talks with, what's the girl's name that fought
Sarah
Serrano?
McFood.
Yep. So they're going to fight for the vacant WBC featherweight title. Probably by March. I think if they have to have an agreement done by Jan 12 or whenever it is, that'll be happening probably by March.
Yeah, women's negotiations move way faster than men, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's announced shortly after, or even if it don't go to a purse bid.
Yeah. So I think if that might be the card where Eddie might try to return to Australia.
That makes sense.
I don't know. It does make sense because Liam and Stevie Spark and there's plenty of fights. There's plenty of guys in the stable from Tasman Fighters and Ace Boxing that are associated with Max Room that Eddie can slap together. Jai won't be fighting. He's got a deal with the Saudis. I think he's got a 2 or 3 fight deal, so he'll be fighting in Saudi Arabia for his next few fights. So.
And
he might even be on the Fury Issac undercard.
And the final
female
fighter, Chernka Johnson. I'm talking of the female fighters that have like some type of name or recognition over there. She lost to Ellie Scottney back in June of this year. Another fighter that you consider on the OnlyFans end of boxing.
Yeah, well, I heard that she's actually ranked like number 3 with the IBF at bantamweight, so she might run into the girl that just beat the Metcalf girl that just beat the Japanese girl that beat Ebony.
She a Metcalf, yeah.
So
okay, well, good for her.
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, once Ebony and Shanika started doing this OnlyFans shit, I don't give a flying rat's ass what they do. I don't really care. So you're either boxers or you're bloody online strippers. Make up your friggin' mind. So if those girls don't come back, you're not going to be. I'm not going to be upset. Tayla Robinson, she is, from what I've heard, she might be in line for a shot with the IBF 115 title.
Okay.
I think she had a loss last year.
No, she didn't. I have her pulled up. She
had a win.
No, she hasn't lost since 2021. Remember, her last fight, according to BoxRec, she lost against Shannon O'Connell.
Yeah, okay. Well, she fought. I think there was an Asian girl that she fought, and she got the win, but she looked bloody terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I have her BoxRec pulled up. I've only seen really clips of her. Never really watched her and watched her fight to give an assessment. So since we're short on time and right on time actually, with just 15 minutes left, we got George Kambosos taking on Vasyl Lomachenko. We don't have to spend too much time on this because basically everybody knows what happened. We know it's just happening. It's the worst kept secret, and it's not a fight that fans are really asking for. But I'm already tired of talking about this fight. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, okay, we'll circle back around to the last point because I wanted to mention Taylor Harris. We'll wait. But George versus Loma.
No. Mention Taylor Harrison back right now. Yeah, so we're gonna.
All right, sweet. So Taylor Harris. I actually gave Millicent. God, I can't pronounce her last name.
Setville. I forgot to. Sometimes I mess it up too.
Yeah. I can't pronounce it. I really apologise. Sorry, Melissa. I can't get your name right. Millicent. I actually give Taylor Robinson the disappointment of the year because it's someone who's 26 years old, who's had a number of fights, got the absolute shit kicked out of her by a 40-year-old woman, right, who less experienced, even though she was a pretty decorated amateur, less experienced, and Millicent kicked the absolute shit out of Taylor Robinson. I think she actually fractured her cheekbone so bad that she didn't even play footy this year because she's a women's AFL footy player for Melbourne Demons. She didn't even play this year.
Oh, she got her face broken.
That's right, because I don't know if we mentioned that fight because it was on one of those no limit.
No, we didn't.
No limit house shows where it was an all-girls show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 4 fights. It was an all-girls show. That was the main event. Everyone thought that Taylor would pretty much clean up Millicent because it was for the vacant women's middleweight title.
Mm.
And Millicent beat the absolute shit out of Taylor.
Yeah.
So it
was majority decision loss for Taylor. I mean for Taylor Harris. 73-80, 76-76, 74-78. Damn, what was that other judge watching? They tried to rob her.
Oh yeah, it was garbage. But clearly Taylor lost, and Taylor lost pretty badly, and pretty much exposed her, as a substandard. I mean, like a footy player trying to be a boxer because she's been a well-known AFL women's football player for the last 5 or 6 years. There was a controversial photo. I don't think we ever got into it. And I could take an hour explaining it, but anyway, I won't worry about it. We've actually had her on the channel. I've actually spoken to her maybe once or even twice before, but this was like years ago.
By the way, what's going on with Paul Gallen?
Well, Paul Gallen's retired. He's done.
He made his money and got out. But listen, but we got to move on though. You wanted to mention Sam Soliman. Did he retire yet? Is he done, or is he still going to? Go out there and get hurt.
Well, he only fought last month against the Walters guy, Alex Walters.
Yeah, but then he lose. But shouldn't he be retired? Shouldn't he retire?
Well, Sam's been retired and come back like 3 bloody times.
Yeah, but come on, man. The man's 50 years. It's time. It's time to let it go.
Well, it was time about 4 or 5 years ago, but I really hope that Sam, retires for good. and stays out of it, because you don't want. I mean, he's 50 for God's sake. Who the hell's sanctioning these fights in the first place?
Yeah. Even the fact that he fought Joel Camilleri last year, that was in 2022, that was just even wild.
And got knocked out in a round. And
exactly.
Actually, shout out to Joel Camilleri. Because he's got a fight coming up, but he's actually taken over the Zoo Boxing Club now. So he's relocated to Sydney, and he's actually taking over that. So he's now managing the boxing gym for the zoo. For the zoo camp, so good for him.
Okay, so the final subject of the video, and also we don't have too much time left, but it's been the worst kept secret in boxing that Vasyl Lomachenko and George Kambosos are going to be fighting in Australia in a fight that Top Rank has been wanting to make for what feels like 5 years or so. It's like, I don't know why they just want to try to force this fight down our throats here, but if I'm being very honest, I have no interest in this fight. Like, what does it bring to the table? I mean, no disrespect to George, unless he comes out there the ferocious one. If I see this guy go out there and try to start boxing, I'm gonna be pissed. Like, I'm gonna be pissed. I am not gonna be kind in my post fight video, especially if it goes to 12. He got to go out there and he's got to try to rough up Lomachenko, and Lomachenko can be beat. He can be beat. We've seen it. You're not going to outbox Lomachenko, but there's ways you can get him. But I don't think George Kambosos can do it. I'm giving him 0% chance.
Yeah, well, there's two factors that you need to look at this fight. One, how did the Haney loss? Because we all know Loma won that fight. That was a bullshit decision. How did the Haney loss affect Loma mentally? Does he still have it in him to want to keep fighting? Right, and here's the other thing.
He was crying in the back.
Exactly. If George wants to go, exactly. If it breaks him mentally, a fight is done.
Because remember, look at Oscar De La Hoya. He was never the same after Trinidad, and he talked about it many times. That's the fight that broke him.
Yep. I mean, Jeff Fennick was the same after the Nelson, Azuma Nelson first draw. Mm-hmm. He was never the same. That broke him. He was never the same. So if Loma is not mentally with it,
with a career high payday as well.
Yeah, George will have a very firm chance. And what George needs to do is the same thing Lopez did to him, is smash him in the guts. Because if you go back and watch the Lopez fight, he hit him in the guts so hard it actually lifted him off the ground.
His feet.
He spent 6 rounds running from him. Remember? That's how Lopez won that fight.
Woke his ass right up. I remember it lifted him up because he was trying to like dodge it, but then it caught him, and it just that was brutal. But you can see that Teofimo Lopez had a game plan to go to the body, and he was huge in that fight.
Exactly. So that's George's
body.
Unfortunately, George fights like shit against southpaws. I mean, look at his performance against Maxie Hughes. Bloody dreadful.
Yeah.
Terrible performance.
And he hasn't had a stoppage since 2019.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't had a stoppage since 2019.
A split decision win over Mickey Bay, a split decision win over Lee Selby. He got a split decision win over Teofimo Lopez, 3 straight. And then 2 dominating losses to Devin Haney. And then a lot of people thought he lost to Maxie Hughes. So if you think about it, he could have lost, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight fights. So if he does win, he just scrapes by.
Yeah, exactly. You are right. If he does win, he scraped. I don't think he scraped by in the Lopez fight. That was a clear win.
It was a clean win.
He did what he needed. He did what he needed because it was 5-5 by round 10, and he won the last 2 rounds. So that was not a scrape by the skin of your teeth victory. But Maxie Hughes, he certainly. I can't know anyone that thought he won that fight. He lost that fight 8 rounds to 4.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, since we're short on time, who do you think's going to be an undercard? The Maloneys, of course,
definitely
right?
the Moloney. Definitely the Maloneys.
Shanika could end up on that card against Shia Metcalf because they're both the Bella fighters who are heavily associated with Top Rank.
Yep, that could work. I was just about to say that they would have a girls' fight, and Shanika's been there before, so why not?
Mm-hmm.
and that would probably be about it. They'll probably do the same thing that they did for the Haney fights. They'll have 4 main fights, and the rest will just be non-televised, like dark matches or whatever. So,
all right. Closing thoughts.
2023, sort of like, I'll say this: 2022 was the best year Australian boxing has ever seen, bar none.
Okay.
And I doubt we'll ever see the likes of 2022 ever again. We had Ebanie and Shanika win their fights and have the 2 biggest Australian female fights that could possibly be made. Yeah, George have 2, not 1, but 2 undisputed fights in Australia. Jai got his upset over Breeders. Tim didn't do much. I'm sure I'm missing someone else in there that did something fantastic in 2022. 2023... Tim had his 3 great fights. Jason won his title. George got a gift decision. But unfortunately, more disappointment than actual, because Jai got screwed out of his title. Ebanie and Shanika losing, well, really, that's not... well, it is, because we've lost world champions, but the way they carry on outside the ring, that's just, who freaking cares? Yeah. Injuries... Liam Paro did not get his title shot against Prograis, because if he did, he would have won, because Prograis looked like shit for the last 2-3 fights. I haven't mentioned her, but Beck Hawker's been out from injury. Shannon didn't fight last year. Susie didn't fight last year, but they're both coming back hopefully this year. 2024, at least we're kicking the year off with a world title fight. I mean, of course, in 2023, Tim got screwed out of the undisputed fight. So 2023 was already, by February, it was already fucked.
Right.
But hopefully this year we'll kick things off with world title fight. Jason successfully defends. Skye gets her title fight. I don't see her winning, but if she does, great. But I don't see it happening. And then hopefully in April we get George versus Loma, and that just kicks off another fantastic year in Australian boxing. But the one to watch, Alex Winwood, I believe he will break Jeff Fennick's record and get that world title fight in under 7 fights. Jai, if he doesn't, with the Saudis, I see him at least getting at least another belt. He'll get at least 1 belt this year, if not 2. Jason potentially could have a unification bout if he's on the undercard to Loma Kambosos. Andrew will be back. Yep, hopefully it's a fantastic year again for Australian boxing in 2020.
All right, with that being said, just hit the limit of 57 minutes, so we told you we wasn't going to keep you here for an hour. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and you will be hearing back from us again soon.